Let's say we had a really cool piece of equipment that we could set up right somewhere on our property. And by looking in a perfectly straight line, which I'm not drawing, but trying to, by looking in a perfectly straight line, I could tell the angle that my instrument was looking at, and I could tell the distance. That would really be a cool thing because then instead of walking all around this thing, I could from one point come and check out these corners, and with two pieces of information I could draw it. So that's what I would need. I would need something that could do that. And that thing is called survey transit level. They have them, and there's all sorts of different methods that they use, but usually it's a line of sight, and there's a reflector on a pole, and you line it up with the reflector on the pole, and it tells you the angle, and it will tell you the distance. The distance is often measured with a laser that's on it, or with an instrument called a stadia, or you could even use a tape measure. So let's see how that would work. If I set this thing up, and this isn't required, but if I know that I've set it up and I've set my 0 degrees in the eastern direction, then I'll be set up just like AutoCAD, and I won't have to fiddle around with my AutoCAD too much to do its thing. Now, most of these that you get work in a clockwise direction. So our first point, we would actually read the distance, we'd get a length, and we'd measure an angle. And we would call, if this was station number 1, this would be 1.01. And that should be right here that it's taking it to. And then we'd move our rod down to the next point, and we'd look through the instrument, the transit, and we'd get our next point, and that would have another angle and another length, and that would be at 1.02, and we would continue doing that all the way around until I had something that looked like that, where each one of these lines is a line of sight looking through the transit to a reflector on the rod so that I could tell the angle and the length for each one of these. And then if I was able to mark all those down, I could have it set up in a survey record so I could later go back and actually draw it. Now, we're not reading the elevation yet. This is like we did before. We're reading an angle and a distance from our station point. Now, what's important is the last thing that I need to know is where is my station located from my 0 point. And that can either be an XY coordinate, or it can be its own angle and distance from my project 0. So that's the last piece of information you need to know, and you can see on this particular one, it gave that the station is centered at an X, Y measurement. Often that will be as an angle and a distance. Okay, but for right now, we're going to put it at an X, Y center. Okie doke. So that's how we're going to go about doing our next set of surveys, which is an angle and a distance.